been struggling, trying to find close friendships that you actually like and you think just might even last a lifetime. And this video's for you. Hey, I'm Pran, or Pranil is my actual name, or P-Slice. No one calls me P-Slice. You may have deduced that this video is about friendships, specifically close friendships. Currently, in terms of close friendships, I feel pretty lucky. I've got 3 very close, I believe very healthy friendships that I've managed to build and maintain over the years. I've noticed that many people don't have this, and I didn't have this a couple of years ago. And now that I do, I don't know what I would do without it. So this video is going to be me going into why I think I managed to gain this, and hopefully that's helpful to anyone who is struggling with this at the moment. And also I see so much about cutting people out of our lives who aren't good for us, and I don't tend to come across that much information on what to do with the people that are left, and that's kind of fucking important. So maybe this is helpful, maybe it's not, I don't know. So here we go. Let's get crazy. We're not gonna get that crazy. So maybe you're thinking, I don't need no friends, and you're probably not thinking that, but it's just an excuse for me to share a quote on friendship that I really like. This is from David Whyte. A diminishing circle of friends is the first terrible diagnostic of a life in deep trouble, of overwork, of too much emphasis on a professional identity, of forgetting who will be there when our armored personalities run into the inevitable natural disasters and vulnerabilities found in even the most average existence. I just really like that quote, and it loosely ties into some of the themes that we're going to talk about. So let's just get into it. Annie, who's the other guy in Pray for Penguins, he's going to hook us up with some sweet anime footage, so you don't have to look at me for the whole video. So yeah, let's do it. Let's go. Anime. The relationships that I have right now weren't always healthy. Actually, they were quite toxic. We used to hold against each other things that we should have spoken about, and then we let it come out in passive-aggressive comments and actions. I even started to notice that sometimes when their day wasn't going so well, when something shit was happening in their life, it made me a little happy, and that's not a good sign. After going through a rough breakup and spending ages analyzing everything that I fucked up to get myself to that place, I realized that I have a bit of a problem with conflict. I gave Annie a call. He was and still is my closest friend, so inevitably he was the person that I had the most shit against. So I called him and I said, I still want us to be friends, but the only way that I think that we can do this is if I air out all the things that I have been angry about and not addressed over the years. Thankfully, he said yes, and it took a couple of months of me just calling him at random points of the day and saying, hey man, I just remembered this other thing that I'm angry about that you probably don't remember because it was so long ago. And he just listened, even though it's kind of my fault for not addressing things when I should have. I then started to do this with everyone else in my life that I felt any resentment towards, assuming that I still wanted them to be in my life. I made a list of people, and then for the list of people, I made a list of things that I was pissed off about, and then I would just message them and say, hey, have you got some time? I want to talk to you about something. And then I just brought it up with them. This was really fucking scary. For someone like me who has avoided conflict their whole life because I'm just terrified of losing people, it didn't feel like just a conversation between friends. It felt like I was going to be left all alone. But to my surprise, I didn't lose anyone. No one even got angry. Everyone seemed to be pretty understanding. Maybe I just got lucky with that part. Eventually, things with those people just felt a lot better. And now, if I feel that invisible bar of resentment building up, I'll just address it straight away. I'll give that friend a message and say, I just want to talk to you, and go through that same process, except now it's not a whole list of fucking people and this big thing to deal with. It's just this small thing. Because I've dealt with a big thing, it's like a small thing's pretty easy to deal with. I think that unless we take care of this, we'll end up treating the people that we're closest to pretty badly. And I want the people that I'm closest to be the people that I treat the best. But unfortunately, without putting in the work, it's very easy for them to become the people that we treat the worst. I've now been through this interaction of airing things out between a friend and I many times. And sometimes I'm bringing things up, and sometimes they're bringing things up. But either way, if you're friends with a person for a long time and you're pretty close, you spend a lot of time together, it's inevitable that one of you is going to piss the other person off. You're both going to piss each other off at some point, and you're both going to cross boundaries at some point. And because of that, in my mind, I don't think it's possible to have a close and healthy relationship with someone that lasts over a long period of time if you aren't willing to forgive each other. I've forgiven my friends for a lot of the dumb shit that they've done, and I'm lucky enough that they've done the same for me. And this allows us to learn what we're all okay with. It's nice to know that one of my friends isn't okay with something that I might be okay with, or that another friend might be okay with, because then I can take that into account going forward. And the fact that I'm willing to take that into account shows them that they matter to me. And when they do that for me, that shows me how much I matter to them, and that's a really nice feeling. And the other cool thing about forgiveness is that after you've been through a few things with a friend and you've both forgiven each other multiple times, you start to have this confidence that that person's going to stick around even if you mess up. And that really helps with the conflict side of things, where it becomes a lot easier to go up to them and tell them that you messed up. Learning how to forgive is kind of difficult. For me, I've noticed that if I'm honest about my own flaws and then I choose to accept them as part of me, this just makes it way easier for me to be accepting of other people's flaws and to be forgiving of them. And that way I get to be better with the being forgiven part as well, because it's a lot easier to own up to your own flaws with others once you've already done that with yourself. I've had this idea a couple of times now, that going out of our comfort zone has become kind of normalized, but we don't tend to put the same emphasis on going out of our comfort zone in our personal relationships as we do in, for example, our professional lives. This idea just resonates with me a lot. I tend to avoid uncomfortable conversations and avoid speaking up when there's risk, despite generally being someone who goes out their comfort zone regularly in other aspects of my life. Instead of going into those uncomfortable conversations with the same intent that I would something else, I tend to want to overcome the uncomfortable conversations. By that I mean, I'd rather learn to become charismatic so that I can maneuver what would usually be an uncomfortable conversation in a comfortable way, or I can speak up without feeling like there's any risk. And it's not that there's necessarily anything wrong with trying to become more charismatic, for example, but I don't know, sometimes I feel like we're missing the point. I still get scared when I'm going to go into a conversation with a friend and there's any risk involved. Like, for example, the conversations when we're trying to resolve conflict. Despite years of being friends and evidence that there's no reason to worry, I still have to pluck up the courage to have those conversations. And maybe it's always going to be that way. And maybe because it's that way, I'll only go through those conversations for the people who matter. And I might be romanticizing it a little bit, but I think that's kind of beautiful. A question I like to ask myself is, what uncomfortable conversation am I avoiding? Or what thing am I avoiding saying because I'm afraid of what might happen? And then I just go and do it. And what the thing is probably different for everyone. For me, it tends to be just telling people that are close to me that I love them. For some reason, I get really nervous about this. I know for a lot of people, it might be telling people around you that you're not doing okay and that you just need some help. By the way, if anyone actually watches this and does anything that I'm suggesting, please let me know how it goes. That'd be really cool to hear about. Okay, this one's kind of easy. I'm not sure if many people struggle with this. It's just for me, sometimes I can get caught up in admiring someone and just thinking they're really, really cool and wanting to be their friend, that I ignore the fact that spending time with them just isn't enjoyable. And in the words of good old Reggie,
if it's not fun, why bother?
it takes time to build friendships that are really, really close. 2 of the 3 friendships that I've mentioned, those people have been in my life for about 9 years now. And I don't think we would be nearly as close if it weren't for that. There's just a different feeling that comes from someone having known you for a long time. You'll have gone through so many high points and low points, and when you have someone that's stuck around through all of them, you can trust that they're around because they genuinely care, and they're not going to leave when you hit another low point, or when you hit another high point, because there are people like that too. I like to think of investing in a relationship in the same way that someone might think about investing in a stock or asset. It's probably going to go up and down over the years, but you're not in it just to ride the wave up and to get out when it starts to crash. You're in it for the long run. So if you haven't already, maybe consider starting investing. Every week, I'll make time for my close friends. I'll schedule out time that's just for them. And at this point, it's just kind of built into the routine. It's like every Thursday night, I know I'm speaking to this friend. Every Saturday morning, I know I'm speaking to a different friend. And you guys know who you are. And if someone's going through a shit time, I might schedule a little bit extra just to make sure that they know they've got me there. And if they're going through a great time, I'll make the time to celebrate with them. And no matter how busy my schedule gets, this continues to remain a priority. And sometimes this doesn't feel good. Like, you'll have to probably listen to your friend cry about a breakup from a person who you've always thought was kind of an asshole. But I think this investment is worth it. You're putting the time in to build meaningful relationships that you'll look back on and cherish for life. At some point last year, when I was really fucking trying to get my life together, I decided that every week I was going to tell one person that I was glad they're in my life. I think it's easy to want to play it cool. It feels sometimes a little silly to tell the people that are in your life that you love them and they mean a lot to you. Especially if, like me, you grew up in a household that didn't really express emotions much, and you use humor and sarcasm to deal with that. Maybe you found your comfort zone in keeping people at a distance, or maybe you just think that the people already know that you love them and you care about them, and you don't need to tell them. But that might not be true, and even if it is, it's nice for them to hear. And if those people regularly hear you appreciating having them in your life, they tend to stick around, and that relationship tends to improve. So if you have a close circle of friends or anyone in your life that you're glad is there, just send them a message or give them a call and let them know how much you care. You'll make their day, and their reaction will more than likely make yours. And at the end of the day, when we've lost everything else, that's all we'll have. And even when we gain everything else, without that, none of it will matter. I realize that I've suggested a lot of things during this way too fucking long video. I'm sorry, this is my first time doing this. I don't want to leave you on your own, so I'll join in with that last suggestion. I want to thank these three, wherever the fuck they are. I want to thank these three lovely human beings for being in my life. You guys have so many things about you that make you really cool people, and I'm so grateful that I met you. And it kind of just makes me want to cry from happiness when I think about how lucky I am that you all seem to think the same thing about me. So yeah, thanks. And I know it will probably never happen, but I'll still keep dreaming of one day us all living on the same street and raising our kids together and getting up to all kinds of weird shit.
Give me the goods, give me the goods.
Was that what we called you? Yes.
I could do with some Rubicon, man.
That was pretty much everything I had to say. Thank you if you stuck around to this point, and I hope it was of some value to you. And if it was, yeah, let me know. If you tried any of the stuff, let me know. If it went badly, still, let me know. And then we can have a little be like, oh, it sucks and it went badly. I'm sorry. And you can be like, how dare you give me advice, man? It should have worked, but it didn't work, and now I hate you. And I can be like, please don't hate me. I don't like being hated. And you can be like, oh, I don't really hate you. I'm just saying stuff because I'm emotional right now. We can have that. Looking forward to it.